If you guys found yourself stuck in a job position that you're really not happy with and you're headed in a direction that you really don't like, and I want to tell you about my story, and hopefully by doing so, I'll be able to teach you guys a few life lessons that I learned in how I got here to where I'm at today with this small welding shop that you see behind me. And I really just hope that I can inspire you guys to one day be able to fulfill your dreams. My name is Luke the Welder, and I own a welding and fabrication shop here in Florida. 10 years ago, I was working a warehouse job. I really saw my life over the next 5 years and wondered, where am I going to be in 5 years? Am I going to be happy? If this is what my life looks like in 5 years, I know I'm not going to be happy. So what can I do to change it? From that moment forward, I made the decision that I needed to change my life around, and I didn't know anything else but that one thing. I needed to change my life around. So I started thinking. I had nothing but time to think at this job. While I worked, it was basically mindless labor. I had headphones in, and all I had time to do was think. And I realized that I was just on a path that I felt like even in 5 years, I was still not going to be happy with. I wasn't going to be making the kind of money that I wanted to make, and I wasn't going to be doing the kinds of things that I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that it wasn't this. So I realized that the only way that I was going to be happy is if I found myself a career that I could constantly be challenged with and I could constantly be learning from. And I suffer from ADHD and ADD, and I have never been great at schoolwork, so I never went to college. Once I got out of high school, I really just hit the ground running with trying to work at a day job. I went to a lot of different day jobs, not ever really knowing what my path was going to be. So while I'm working this warehouse job, I come to the realization that I'm not happy and I needed a career. And I didn't know what that career was going to be. But I did know one thing. I loved working with my hands, so that led me to going to a trade school. I knew that I needed to do some sort of trade because I could work with my hands, and I knew that whatever trade I chose, I would be able to constantly be challenged, which I need for my ADHD brain so that I don't get bored easily doing the same monotonous thing every day, day in, day out. But I had no idea what trade I wanted to learn. So I decided first thing I would do is go to my local trade school and see what courses they offered. So I called up the trade school, I found their course list, and I decided there's too many options. I'm going to narrow it down to the top 3 options that I know that I would enjoy. Even after I graduate school, I can picture myself doing after school. Here's my 3 options. And the 3 options that I believe I chose was marine mechanic, I wanted to work on boat engines, or become an electrician, or I came across welding. Well, I had 2 friends that were welders, and I was super fascinated by that. So I called up my 2 friends and said, hey, I'm really fascinated by welding. Could you maybe give me the opportunity to come by and try welding and see if it's something I like? And I had never been a welder before. I had never touched a welding machine, had never done anything like that before. And they said, yeah, man, come on over. We'll let you try it out and see if it's something you like. When I tell you, the moment that I struck up that very first arc, I was addicted. And something came over me where I just knew this was what I was meant to do. I don't know how, I don't know why, but this was what I was born to do. I was put on this planet to become a welder. And from that very moment that I struck up that first arc, I had that fire in me. And so I made that decision that I was going to go to college and that I was going to become a welder, no matter what it took. And I had no money in the bank, no money whatsoever. So I called up my guidance counselor and I basically laid it out all on the table. And I said, listen, I don't have any money to go to this school, but something inside me is telling me that I have to get into this course. I have to. I don't know what it's going to take, but I got to get into this course. I had 2 weeks left to register for the school. I tried all the scholarships and didn't get approved. I tried everything I could, and I just did not have the money. I even went as far as starting a GoFundMe for picking up trash on the shoreline. For every $20 I raised towards my college education, I would pick up an entire bag of trash from a shoreline using my kayak. And I raised about $150, but it wasn't near the amount of money I needed for college. So I just was super passionate, and I ended up returning that money to the people who had offered to give it to me, and ended up at the very last second getting a government grant through an organization here that basically gets federal grant money to put people into occupations that are desperately needed. And so right at the nick of time, I ended up getting a grant that ended up paying for my entire college education. So I made the mental decision that I got an opportunity I'm never going to get again. So I need to absolutely take advantage of this opportunity and not squander it. So I'm going to be the first one to class, the last one to leave, and I'm going to ask a million questions to get the most out of my education. And that's exactly what I did for about 2 years. I went to a 2-year local college, ended up graduating at the top of my class, and got right into the welding industry. Started welding, tried to master all of the techniques that I possibly could, and then eventually became a fabricator. And fast forward to now 10 years later, I own my own shop here in Florida, and I am super happy with the way that my life has turned out. Now, some of the things I want to talk about today and sort of the motivation behind this is a couple of things. One is authenticity, and two is taking risks. Because if I had never taken that initial risk, I would have never gone to college to better my life and my future and my family's future. And I promised myself that if I ever owned my own business, that I would be as authentic as I could humanly be. I would never conduct bad business intentionally. I would just hold myself to a higher standard and just be the absolute best at my trade that I could possibly be, on top of being the best business owner that I could possibly be. Although my journey has not been super easy, it has not been. I will say that if you decide you want to start a business, do not go into it thinking that it's going to be easy, because it is certainly not going to be easy. It's going to be one of the most difficult things you will ever do in your life. It requires being able to work nights, work weekends, live paycheck to paycheck, but I know in the end that it's going to be well worthwhile. And so from the very beginning of me starting my business, I have documented every step of the way to now. And you guys can see that on my TikTok channel and now my YouTube channel. If you guys go back to the very beginning, you guys can see everything that I have done every step of the way, and I am only just getting started. This is my continuing journey. Please, if you feel free to do so, please make sure you hit subscribe and follow the journey if you want to. And I hope that I can further motivate you guys to follow your dreams, because any dream that you guys have is 110% possible. It just takes a ton of drive, a ton of ambition, and a ton of sweat, as you can probably see, and a ton of heart. And you guys can absolutely achieve it. I'm a living example of that. I have strived so hard to not fall into the temptation of just being inauthentic just to get clicks and views. And I really strive to teach other people the things that I have learned in order to help motivate you guys to follow your dreams as well. Because I remember being myself stuck in a place of just pure unhappiness and really unfulfillment. And the lack of fulfillment really just motivated me even more to become successful at what I do. And although I am not in business financially where I would like to be, I can tell you that I know that I'm on my journey to being there. I have worked so hard to start this business. I did it with absolutely no capital. The only capital that I have in this business is by the blood, sweat, and tears of my hard work and by reinvesting the money that I have made from different jobs throughout the last few years. And it has been extremely difficult. And although some of you might be like, well, why didn't you go get business capital? You know, I really wanted to see if I could prove to myself that I could do this journey without having a handout, basically. And although having capital given to me could be a major advantage, and I know is possible, I really wanted to see if I could grow this business without going into debt. So it has been definitely a struggle to do so, but I can promise you that in the end, I know it will be well worth the hard work that I put behind it. So I just wanted to say that if you guys have any questions about starting a business, or if you guys need some sort of motivation, or you have if you need any sort of advice that I could possibly be able to give you, I will do my absolute best to try to do so. Another point that I would like to bring up is about embracing failure. That has been a major hurdle for me in the early stages of this business, was learning to embrace failure. Because as a business owner, there are things you are going to do that you are 100% going to fail at. And if I've learned anything since starting my own business, it is that the sooner that you fail at things, the sooner that you will overcome those failures and learn from them and learn the lessons that you need to learn, and the smarter that you're going to get and the further along that you're going to get in your journey. So a major breakthrough for me was learning to accept failure and realizing that you are always going to be a student of your failure. So the sooner that you fail, the sooner that you learn from your failures. And if you guys have any advice that you'd like to throw down into the comments, please do so. I read every single comment, and I would love if you guys would comment your own experiences and your own journeys on how you guys got to where you're going, or if you are just now starting your journey, if there's any tips that I can give you, I would be glad to do so if it's at all possible. So thank you guys so much for listening to this. Maybe I'll put on a part 2 if you guys are inspired by this. So let me know in the comments, and share this video with somebody that you think might need some inspiration. Thank you guys.